Hello everybody, welcome back to the Dead Mall series. In today's episode we are going to be taking a look at the Northpark Mall in Davenport, Iowa. And this is a longer episode, so sit back, grab your favorite drink, your favorite snack, and enjoy. Let's get right to it. So throughout the 1960s, the growing Quad Cities area was petitioning to get a mall built. And they got just what they wanted in 1973 when two twin malls were built. One being in Davenport, that being the Northpark Mall, and the other being the Southpark Mall in Moline, Illinois. And we'll check that out in a different video, but the Northpark Mall opened on July 11th, 1973, and it was debuted as one of the nicest malls in Iowa and one of the biggest by floor space, with three opening anchors being Montgomery Ward, Yonkers, and a JCPenney. So driving up to this mall, you see the Sears building, and in the parking lot they've turned that into a COVID zone, so that was no entry for us. But coming up to the mall, you realize just how enormous it is, and I mean, the JCPenney alone itself looks like a skyscraper from the distance, and when you're up close it's even taller. But yeah, so this mall enjoyed relative success throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and to be honest, I struggle to call this a dead mall because while there's a lot of dead aesthetics and wings, like the Sears wing is completely dead, you're gonna see just how active the original anchor wing is, and yeah, it's pretty incredible to see. So right here, coming up to the Sears building, you'll see just how decrepit the parking lot is, and the structure itself, it's in pretty bad shape. So one thing that's pretty cool about this mall is that there's an old archive of tons of photos of when this mall first opened, like the 70s and 80s. And you'll see right here in a second, the original Sears entrance had the big white letters plastered on the front. And I thought that was pretty cool because you see that exact entrance in a second. And then in newer pictures of the Sears when it was still open, you'll see the classic 80s font blue letters on the side of the building. And it's kind of sad because I think the letters looked a lot cooler when they were right on the front, right above the entrance. But yeah, coming around the mall here, this is one of the main entrances, and this mall has a lot of main entrances, and they have these huge like archways for when you enter the mall. It's pretty cool. And right here you'll see the JCPenney, one of the entrances to the JCPenney. And right here you'll see just how gigantic the JCPenney was, as I was talking about. So while we continue to drive around it, I'll let you continue to take it in for yourself. So right here, coming up to the Dillards, this is on the far side of the mall in the original Anchor Ward. It wasn't always a Dillards. The mall originally opened with the Montgomery Ward in this space, and when the company went out of business in 2001, just 2 years later, Dillards opened their store at this mall. And it's pretty cool because just a few hundred yards away from the Dillards anchor, you'll find an abandoned building, and that was originally the Montgomery Ward Auto Center. Didn't get it on camera, but it's pretty cool. You can see it on Google Earth. And this Dillard's was actually the place where a shooting took place in early 2020 in the parking lot The suspect was never captured and nobody was hurt or killed, but there were shots fired in the parking lot, and the Dillard's itself was closed off from the outside, and there was only a mall entrance for quite some time, and just recently it opened back up. So this picture is of the Yonkers original entrance, and this was the day before Christmas 1984, and it was apparently, the mall was packed that day. Every parking lot was full and there were no spaces, and that's a sharp contrast to today, where the Yonkers is now completely abandoned and the doors are boarded up, as you can see right there. Even the label, the sign is missing some of its letters right there. And this is coming around the back side of the mall right now at the Von Mar. And then this is where the COVID zone was, so I couldn't really record because there were tons of cops and stuff everywhere. So I didn't want to get, like, I don't know, pulled over for recording a cop car or something. But right here, there's the Sears building, and you'll see that just one more time before we head inside. That's right next to the auto center right there that you're seeing. And then one last time, the original front entrance before we go in. So right here at the main entrance of the mall, this is the original JCPenney, Yonkers, and Dillard's wing. And you'll see this picture right here of the original entrance. And it was this huge glass dome that housed the food court. And it had all these front shops and everything. And for some reason, I don't know why, but it was all demolished recently. And then it was changed into this kind of like this boring front-facing store modern entrance with Barnes & Nobles. And I don't know why, because in that previous shot, the old picture, you saw that just, it looks so cool. And that's the one thing that they mentioned a lot. When this mall first opened, it was the mall that had all these grand fixtures, and you'll see in a picture coming up this huge copper fountain that used to be in front of the JCPenney. So yeah, that's one thing you see a lot on old historical sites on the mall, is just how many grand fixtures that this mall has, like all the fountains. There are fountains going up and down the hallways with huge mall bushes and trees in these center courtyards by the JCPenney right here. You can see it's a tall vaulted ceiling, so there's probably something there. Right here is an old picture of the original mall directory map when it still had all 5 anchors. And then walking down towards the Sears wing. You're just going to see a lot of before and afters of old stores from the 70s and 80s compared to today, where most of them are either changed or closed. So right here is a lot of what I'm talking about, where the mall has a lot of activity near the front, and that front being the original anchor wing. And right now I'm heading down towards the Sears and Von Maur wing, and you'll see just how much traffic kind of dies out with the amount of people walking around and the amount of stores open. So when the mall first opened, it was home to 3 original anchors, that being Montgomery Ward, Yonkers, and JCPenney, and they were in their own separate wing. And then in the summer of 1979, a contract was purchased, which just beginning the next year in 1980, demolished 32 acres or 1.5 million square feet of land, and it made way for the brand new Sears and Von Maur wing. And you'll see some befores and afters of the mall back when it still had its original anchor space. And this new addition, it wasn't doing too well in the first years of it opening, and to be honest, throughout the rest of its time until today, it hasn't really been like the most fruitful part of the mall. And right here you just see some pictures. That picture you could see the Sears is packed with the parking lot being completely full. But nowadays there's little to no business down this side of the mall. So in this shot right here, you can see the United States Soviet Union thank you letter that the United States sent to Moscow when they thanked Mikhail Gorbachev for announcing that the Soviet Union would be disbanding in 1989, and then in 1991 it happened. But that letter was in this mall where anyone could walk up and sign their thank you that the Soviet Union would finally not be some terrifying superpower. And the card read, "Dear Mr. Gorbachev and the people of the Soviet Union, we, the people of the United States of America, wish to express our gratitude for your contribution toward world peace." It was a really simple letter, but it got the point across that the United States people were finally happy that this Cold War was over. So coming up right here is the old Sears wing, and as you saw in previous shots, it was already dead enough, but this kind of puts the final nail into the coffin, and you'll see why. So this is the portion of the mall that was constructed in 1981, and this housed the two anchors, Sears and Von Maur. And Von Maur is still open today, and they haven't changed ever. And Sears obviously closed in 2018 when the whole company went out of business. And this whole wing of the mall is just so cool because the rest of the mall there's mall music and people chattering and walking around, but this wing there's little to no business, no foot traffic, and oddly enough, no music at all. So one thing that happened in this mall quite frequently was a lot of gated off or walled off stores had like these banners that would hang down in them, or they would be painted on the wall, and it would be these inspirational quotes and like shop at Northpark Mall, and then there'd be like a painting of some flowers or a picture of some flowers, and it was just, it's the little things like that where malls try to, you know, they try to make it look a little bit more lively, a little bit more inviting. And it doesn't just happen at this mall, it's every mall, every dead mall that there is. So right here you're going to see a quick tidbit from when this whole wing was still live and when Sears was still open, so I'll leave you to that. So yeah, Sears was one of the prominent anchors at the mall for a really long time, and then they closed their store in 2018 as a part of closing 80 unprofitable stores when the entire company liquidated. So back when the mall first opened, it had all these super new advanced technological features, and one of them include this garbage can looking thing, and that's what I would mistake it for, but it was the old mall directory, and apparently it was a touch screen. So there you have it. That is how it used to be done, and now we go back to our primitive ways of using maps. Oh boy. Coming back towards the main anchor wing, we passed by some of those old shops again, and right there you saw the Payless Shoe Source. Didn't take the letters down for on that sign for some reason, but going up this hallway, this is kind of an example of what they talked about, how in this area they would have these huge copper and brass fixtures and sculptures with water fountains, and down little streams that kind of ran down those elevation changes. And then heading back into the main wing is where they talk about having fountains and bridges and huge mall plants. And the one fountain that you saw in that first picture was apparently a rainbow fountain, so I can imagine at night that must have been the thing to see. It would be pretty awesome to see a colorful water fountain. Unfortunately, nowadays in this mall we don't have luxuries like that, but back in the day it would have definitely been a sight to see. So right here is the Whitey's Ice Cream, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the plan is for this place, whether it's closed permanently or just for the pandemic, because when you look their location up on Google, it doesn't say that it exists at this mall anymore, so I'm not quite sure what the deal is. But right here we get a quick look into an old jewelry store. And then coming around the corner, I want to apologize for the shaky cam footage, because this security guard, he approaches me, and you'll see him, he's right there. He approaches me and he tells me I can't be recording. So I'm holding this gimbal, and that's what I have kind of walking throughout the mall. And it's this like stabilizer for video. And it's why the camera footage was so nice. But I kind of had to put it away, and I was trying to record stealthily, and he was like walking right behind me. So I was kind of like a sneaky ninja, but it was kind of scary. And yeah, this is going down towards the food court and the Dillard's wing, towards the old Yonkers. And you'll see the Yonkers in a second. And the Yonkers closed their store in 2018 when the entire parent Bon-Ton company went out of business. And the label scar on the Yonkers is pretty incredible, so you'll see that in a second. So coming up to the food court here, I wasn't able to make my way towards the Dillard's because I was kind of on a time crunch, but the food court is honestly pretty dead, with some walled off stores on the left there. And this is around lunchtime, so there was like no activity. But here's an old shot of the food court, but when it still had that glass dome kind of feature, but when that was demolished it kind of died out. And then one shot here with the Yonkers. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Dead Mall series, and I hope you all will join me next week for the Lindell Mall in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But here's one shot of the Dillard's that I couldn't make it to. But yeah, so I will see you all next week. But until then, have a lovely day, and peace out.